Situation report. By mid-May 2026, the staggering loss of over 11,200 Russian tanks sounds the death knell for obsolete armored doctrine. Our intelligence shows thousands of those are rusty Soviet relics, steel beasts built to consume ammunition rather than secure victory. But the real surprise was not those ancient wrecks. It was when Moscow's prized T-90M Prorov, hailed as their finest combat tank, finally deployed onto the active Donetsk front, only to vanish within 24 hours after a full year of hoarding. Hundreds of millions in defense spending. In one night at Shahove, Russia's mechanized master plan crumbled into smoking scrap metal. Why did Moscow's advanced armor fail so fast? And what does this reveal about the future of warfare? In the drone age, the intel we have completely shatters the myth of Moscow's heavy steel supremacy. Consider a tank Putin boasted could easily crush. Everything in its path, stockpiled as a secret weapon to shatter Ukrainian defenses near Pokrovsk. But when deployed, it struck a wall of mines, artillery, and swarming drones, exposing every design flaw. This is no simple tactical blunder. It is a clear warning that legacy heavy armor cannot survive modern asymmetric tech. Stay with us as we unpack how this failed assault shattered illusions, signaling a new era where brains beat brawn and drones dominate the skies. Moscow committed its premier T-90M Prorov tanks after losing over 11,261 units by October 16, 2025. Remember, Vladimir Putin himself hailed this exact model as the world's finest tank back in June 2023. Confirmed data from Ukraine's finance ministry highlights the devastating attrition rate of Russian heavy armor, revealing most losses were obsolete. Soviet stock deployed merely to absorb ammunition rather than secure actual tactical wins. Deploying the advanced T-90M marked a desperate shift in Moscow's tactics. During a weapons factory briefing, Putin claimed this armor could advance on any position, denying adversaries any chance while firing further, striking with extreme precision, and offering superior armor protection. According to state-run media TASS, these public boasts aim to rally troop morale. Yet, the decision to withhold these assets for so long shows Moscow was highly cautious of committing top-tier armor to grinding attritional combat. Moscow hoarded nearly 300 T-90M tanks through 2024 and into 2025, preparing them for a decisive, mechanized offensive near the Pokrovsk front, according to verified field updates and our independent conflict intelligence reports. Secret production lines at the Ural-Vaganzavod facility built these units in isolation, trying to avoid the precision strikes that decimated thousands of legacy Russian tanks. Designers retrofitted improved targeting optics and advanced reactive armor plating, aiming to establish an armored spearhead that could shatter fortified positions across the Eastern Front. This massive buildup cost hundreds of millions, draining resources from Russia's heavily sanctioned military budget, and commanders selected Pokrovsk as the ultimate testing ground, knowing its fall would completely sever critical supply networks feeding Ukrainian forces across Donetsk. The operational goal focused on capturing Shahove village, a vital defensive strongpoint 12 kilometers north of Pokrovsk, clearing a clear path for deeper thrusts into Donetsk. Tactical analysts report that Shahove sits east of a 24.8-mile salient established during summer offensives, meaning securing it would give Moscow a launch pad targeting the strategic Pokrovsk hub. Pokrovsk controls vital supply lines and transport networks, funneling ammo and fresh troops to Ukrainian forces, and its loss could swing the whole regional war. Russian command bet on overwhelming armor numbers to punch through. But this plan ignored Ukraine's lethal layered defenses, which seamlessly combine heavy minefields with electronic warfare. The spearhead featured 36 tanks, including several T-90M units, 40 motorcycle scouts, heavy infantry carriers, and elite naval infantry units tasked with breaching the main defensive line. These assault forces, pulled from 5 Marine units, represent Russia's absolute finest shock infantry outside special operations. They were sent forward to absorb contact while the heavy tanks followed behind. Commanders hoped light scouts would trigger defensive fire, letting tanks advance. But this was a legacy Soviet tactic wholly ill-suited for modern drone airspace. Intelligence reports confirm the Russian forces assembled a highly formidable heavy assault force, prepared to dig in and fortify Shakov to launch much deeper strategic thrusts. Ask yourself, can even the best weapon system save a mission if the tactics are obsolete? On October 9th, the hostile offensive launched, with enemy commanders dividing their assault forces into motorcycle waves. These bikes spearheaded the assault, while heavy armor lagged behind in a relic of Soviet-era doctrine. Intelligence confirms this maneuver pulled directly from outdated manuals, deploying light recon to probe our defensive lines. But the goal remained: push forward under heavy defensive fire near the village of Shako. Infantry advanced in waves from multiple vectors, attempting to overwhelm our defensive lines. However, their entire plan relied on speed and surprise across flat terrain. Reports from Euromaidan press identify this as one of the largest recent offensives, utilizing highly trained elite units that spent months preparing to coordinate this massive push. Their objective was to exhaust Ukrainian ammunition reserves before their heavy T-90M tanks closed in. Enemy command calculated that sacrificing these exposed motorcycle troops would bleed our defensive positions dry, clearing the way for armor to dominate the battlefield. This approach tried to replicate historical successes in open terrain, but they failed to realize how fast modern sensors detect these movements. Combat data reveals the enemy committed dozens of high-value assets here, betting that sheer exhaustion would force a critical breakthrough. Our forces anticipated this playbook perfectly, establishing heavy defensive barriers long before the first wave arrived. With precise intelligence, we mapped out their attack corridors, reinforcing the sector with concealed traps and elevated observation posts. Our units maintained secure communications, integrating physical blockades with constant drone surveillance to lock down every approach. Reports from the Azov Regiment detail how this thorough preparation transformed the village into a deadly, layered kill zone. As the hostile columns pressed forward, the earth erupted under heavy artillery and precise defensive strikes. Anti-tank mines tore through wheels and tracks, freezing their advance while overhead drone strikes unleashed absolute devastation. Defenders executed pre-planned ambushes, pairing direct kinetic strikes with massive artillery barrages that scattered the survivors. United 24 field reports confirm similar outcomes in adjacent sectors, where rapid counterstrikes crushed enemy momentum instantly. Verified battle damage assessments from Euromaidan and Azov channels confirm 20 enemy vehicles destroyed, including 3 T-90M tanks, 16 armored personnel carriers, and 41 motorcycles. This shattered the core of the attack, leaving heavy machinery burning and light elements entirely wiped out. Tactical analysis reveals our combined arms approach systematically dismantled their columns, scattering burning wreckage across the entire sector. The casualty data reveals a massive blow, with over half the hostile force neutralized within hours. Enemy forces suffered massive losses, with 107 killed and 51 wounded in action. This represents a crushing blow to their morale, particularly since these troops belong to seasoned, high-readiness brigades. Their field hospitals were completely overwhelmed, and the dead included specialist infantry tasked with holding any captured ground. Azov frontline reports emphasize how this devastating attrition crippled the enemy, making it impossible for survivors to regroup. Under cover of darkness, our attack drones hunted the surviving remnants hiding in Vadivka, ensuring zero escape routes. Drone operators launched consecutive waves to target fleeing troops, neutralizing hidden pockets with pinpoint night strikes. This decisive operation sealed their defeat, leaving the sector completely cleared by dawn. Combat updates from Euromaidan press confirm the village was fully secured, marking a total rout of the enemy forces. Analyze this failure with me. Was it tactical incompetence or obsolete armor? Technical manuals portray the T-90M as an absolute beast on paper. It features a 125mm cannon firing laser-guided missiles at ranges up to 5 kilometers. This platform integrates relict explosive reactive armor and QET countermeasures to neutralize incoming rocket-propelled grenades, reaching speeds of 60 kilometers per hour with a 550-kilometer range, built specifically to dominate open warfare, combining heavy smoothbore firepower with smart projectiles designed to lock onto moving targets with absolute precision, backed by external auxiliary fuel tanks to sustain prolonged operations. Its heavy armor is designed to survive frontline hits, while its power plant ensures high mobility across rugged terrain. But these advanced specs belong on test ranges, not in chaotic, high-intensity combat. Production data indicates Moscow manufactured hundreds of these units, costing millions of dollars apiece, but brutal battlefield realities are quickly stripping away the hype around these machines. Those strengths evaporate in active combat zones as first-person view drones streak in low, hitting radar blind spots. Operators guide these killer drones low to the ground, slipping past radars scanning higher altitudes. They strike vulnerable spots like engine vents, and field reports detail how these tactics exploit electronic jamming gaps. They render heavy tank sensors useless amid buzzing swarms carrying lethal explosive payloads. My sources confirm Ukraine fields thousands of these drones monthly, racking up more kills as pilots master the video feeds. This deadly shift forces crews to abandon vehicles mid-fight. Casualty data underscores the massive toll on the ground, with over 100 T-90 variants knocked out since upgrades began, proving speed beats heavy plating in close-quarters combat. Smart anti-tank mines and heavy artillery, adjusted by spotter drones, lock down the T-90M the moment it arrives. These advanced explosives bury themselves, activating only on specific signatures, like magnetic fields from heavy armor, detonating underneath to blast holes or shred tracks before crews can react. Tactical analyses show how drone spotters relay precise target coordinates in real time, directing artillery shells with deadly accuracy, shattering enemy turrets and primary optics. Russian factories scrambled to weld on desperate fixes like steel slat cages. Yet heavy minefields and guided barrages overwhelm these fixes, pushing crew abandonment rates near 70%. Our reconnaissance teams track hundreds of these incidents yearly, where simple detection triggers rapid volleys that shatter enemy operations without direct visual contact. In truth, military reports confirm that loitering munitions and javelin-style overhead missiles have made Russian shielding entirely obsolete. These threats hover above targets before diving vertically, bypassing thick side shielding to penetrate weak, thin roof armor. Guidance relies on robust infrared seekers that easily bypass electronic jamming, and portable launchers empower infantry to strike from concealed positions kilometers away. Supply data confirms thousands of javelins delivered since the escalation, scoring hit rates above 90% against moving armor. Analysis highlights how this devastating top attack method exploits design flaws rooted in Cold War doctrine, making even upgraded models like the T-90M easy targets in dynamic fights. We are watching a massive doctrinal shift where these systems level the playing field, prioritizing combat mobility over heavy armor. If you still believe Russian armor is indestructible, let me know. The T-90M's internal design packs highly volatile ammunition directly under the crew seats, unprotected. This lethal flaw inherited from the T-72 turns minor impacts into catastrophic explosions. Designers built this modern tank on 1970s blueprints, placing high explosive ammunition in an open carousel. A single penetration triggers a chain reaction, completely wiping out the crew. Tactical journals show how Western-made battle tanks like the M1 Abrams deploy blast doors to shield crews, whereas Russian designs prioritize a low profile over survivability. Crews inside face immediate lethal danger as fire and pressure waves sweep unchecked through the hull. We have documented over 3,000 Russian tank wrecks from these design flaws, with 18 modern T-90Ms confirmed destroyed by 2023. Top-down strikes cause the entire turret to eject violently, killing the crew instantly because of that exposed ammo carousel. Vertical attacks exploit thin roof armor, where precision munitions easily punch through to ignite stored shells, launching the heavy turret into the air. Observers document turrets launched 250 feet high, instantly neutralizing the threat. Ukrainian operators exploit this weakness by directing strikes at steep angles, rendering heavy frontal armor completely useless. Data tracks over 100 T-90 models destroyed or captured by 2022, mostly from overhead strikes, offering zero escape time. Experts call this spinning turret syndrome, where the turret spins wildly out of control after a strike, leaving the vehicle completely disabled. Minor battle damage triggers electrical short circuits, causing endless spins that lock up the guns and force crews to evacuate. Technicians trace the issue to compromised hull sensors, which send faulty signals. Enemy crews are struggling with faulty traverse motors. Unlike legacy hydraulic systems, they panic and bail, leaving hatches open for our follow-up drone strikes to finish them. Sitreps peg monthly production at 5 to 10 units, costing $4.5 million each. This means they are burning millions on armor that fails under combat stress. Tactical analysis confirms the T-90M skipped real combat trials. Now they are testing it in blood on the Ukrainian front line. Their factories built this chassis back in 1994, leaving it vulnerable to modern threats. Now, their crews are learning that lesson under fire from our precision-guided shells. Syria was a playground against obsolete missiles. It did not prepare them for suicide drone swarms or smart self-guided artillery. Battlefield assessments prove rushed upgrades, skipped vital simulations, leaving massive vulnerabilities in their active defense systems and electronics. Total armored losses now exceed thousands, with crippled production lines making barely 90 replacements a year, failing to match our high rate of destruction. Is this fatal flaw a mere oversight, or structural rot inside their outdated military-industrial complex? Following the rout at Shakov, the Kremlin suffered a massive strategic blow, shattering confidence in the high command. Field intelligence indicates this rapid defeat exposed deep fractures in their operational planning, forcing their general staff to frantically reallocate dwindling resources under severe pressure. Intercepted comms reveal intense finger-pointing in Moscow, with elite circles openly debating soaring costs and failed strategic choices. Our analysts note a sharp drop in domestic support, with 15% more citizens questioning this endless campaign by late 2025. This disaster exposed their command structure, forcing military advisors to abandon aggressive propaganda and quietly adjust their tactics. Their prize, T-90M, the pride of their armored corps, was obliterated in 48 hours, crushing frontline troop morale. Combat footage captured how this elite weapon, designed to intimidate, was reduced to smoking scrap metal by our relentless artillery strikes. Panicked intercepts reveal broken morale, while their state media works overtime to censor the scale of this tactical defeat. Their defense spending surged by 20% to rush replacements, yet the burning wreckage stands as proof that raw metal cannot win. Geolocated chatter reveals a 25% spike in civilian and soldier complaints about failing equipment reliability this October. Our intelligence confirms the Kremlin ordered state factories to build 300 more tanks annually, even as battlefield attrition rates hit 90%. Assembly lines are running round-the-clock shifts, targeting 1,100 upgraded models under classified programs through 2030, but heavy Western sanctions are choking their supply chains. Factory workers face brutal, endless overtime, conscripting civilian labor to meet unrealistic quotas, while their war economy bleeds billions of dollars amid severe inflation. Confirmed tank losses surpassed 1,100 units in 2024 alone, trapping them in a loop where new builds barely cover combat destruction. Foreign buyers are backing out, signaling massive global distrust in their military gear. Allies are seeking combat-proven alternatives as major export deals collapse over systemic manufacturing delays and broken warranties. Multi-million-dollar defense contracts vanished, choking their defense revenue. International arms expos saw a 30% collapse in buyer interest from Asian partners by mid-2025. Foreign militaries now demand reliable systems that survive diverse threats without constant mechanical failures. New Delhi canceled their order for 469 units worth $2 billion, pivoting instead to French armor. The deal died over catastrophic failures during trials, prompting a shift to modern battle tanks that actually perform in rugged environments. Operational logs show this strategic pivot slashed long-term costs, as Western supply chains offer simpler maintenance and rapid parts delivery. Shipments began in early 2024, deploying 200 advanced armor units by late 2025, while existing fleets were upgraded for interoperability. Psychologically, this defeat shattered any remaining enemy illusions of technological superiority over our coalition. Intercepted public surveys reveal 40% of their population has lost all confidence in their domestic defense tech. Their own state commentators are demanding immediate military reforms to desperately close the gap with superior Western technology. Domestic networks are panicking over their national security, spurring a 10% drop in recruitment due to hardware fears. For our forces, the victory at Sharkov is absolute proof that tactical innovation and battlefield agility outclass raw armor and empty threats. Frontline briefings highlight agile operations, crediting integrated units for turning the tide without heavy armor. The Euromaidan press is hailing this asymmetric model, as Allied aid surged 15% following the operation. Frontline morale has skyrocketed, forging a culture of brutal battlefield innovation under tight limits. Are we witnessing the death of the tank? The Battle of Sharkov was no mere tactical failure. It shattered a myth, and you and I are watching warfare change forever. Russia's vaunted T-90M tanks, stockpiled for months and hyped as invincible, were pulverized within hours by lethal Ukrainian defense sectors, combining mines, heavy artillery, and relentless drone swarms. This engagement exposed fatal design flaws, like unshielded ammunition carousels that trigger catastrophic, instant detonations, while spinning turret syndrome reduces advanced hardware to scrap. The raw data paints a grim picture. Over 11,200 Russian tanks, lost by mid-October 2025. Annual production sits at just 300, fighting a 90% attrition rate, while buyers like India scrap their contracts. Here is the kicker. Tactical adaptation and rapid innovation crush brute force on the modern battlefield. Kyiv just proved brains beat armor in this drone age. Could this signal the twilight of armor, where you and I witness drone fleets taking over? Will Moscow pivot to asymmetric tech, or cling to blind pride and suffer more mass casualties? The global debate is raging. Your strategic insights shape how we analyze tomorrow's warfare. Hit like if this briefing delivered. Share this with your fellow defense analysts, and subscribe to Military Force for tactical breakdowns on global combat, weapons, and geopolitics.